Welcome to Still a Part of Us again. We are have Helena here with us. She just told us this just beautiful story of her daughter Maila and her birth and what that was like. And there were some really sweet and tender moments, but also some like really hard moments too. And so, welcome back. We're just so excited for you to come and chat with us a little bit more about Maila and your process, your journey that you've had over the years. So, welcome back, Helena.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me back. Yeah, so Mila Angela was born on the 29th of December in 2022.
Hmm.
At 36 weeks and 5 days, she was stillborn due to undiagnosed preeclampsia, and it all happened very quickly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just breaks my heart that I feel like I didn't have the tools to identify what was happening to me. But she was a beautiful baby girl, very long, so much hair. She looks like her dad, actually. Nothing like me. I just wanted to know what color her eyes were, but we didn't get to.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
That is that's hard. See, there's so many things that are just like, oh yeah, I wish there was
Yeah.
that chance. Yeah, if you, I would highly recommend listening to that episode because it is beautiful and there's so many things that were really frustrating and hard too. Like when I was listening to it, I was frustrated for you. I was angry for you. I was like, this shouldn't
Yeah.
be happening this way. So, go listen to that episode. It's so good. But one thing I actually wanted to start out with, because you did mention it in the other episode, was that you had this kind of a little bit of a different, like, I don't care if I'm here or not. My daughter's not here anymore. But things changed for you because you had a friend who suggested something that was kind of not even anything on your radar. It was nothing that you'd ever done before. So can you tell me about that and how that kind of switched some things for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, from the transition of not wanting to be here anymore after going through something so traumatic and
Hmm.
tragic to finding a new light and seeing it differently, like was from that moment that my friend came in. And this is a friend who she's is an atheist, so she's never believed in anything
Hmm.
at
Hmm.
all throughout her entire life. I've known her like this. Me, I believe in God.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that I'm like heavily religious or that I am connected to a specific religion, even though my family is Catholic. So,
Hmm.
like in Portugal, you do grow up Catholic, but she's very much like, no.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, when she sat down with me in the hospital and we're just, chatting away, she explains to me that she saw a medium after her mum and grandma passed away shortly after each other. And this medium essentially got everything correct. And these are things that you can't just suss out. There's something called cold reading, I think is what they call, or warm reading, where it's like you look at a person and you try to imagine what that person went through, like,
Mm.
and
Mm.
then you just hold on to very general things, like, for example, you probably have a grandparent who's passed away and say something like that. And then obviously the person might nod or might be like, yeah, and they start to lean towards where the person tells you, and they might say something like cancer because, those are one of the things that people in our generation and
Yes.
generations before sort of go through, right? But it wasn't like that. It was very specific moments and evidential things and dates and what had happened. So I said to her, I need this and I need this right now because I cannot content myself with the fact that my daughter is here and now she isn't. Like her life was in vain. Her life was only these 36 weeks and
Mhm.
5 days, and I don't get to see her. This makes no sense. I need something that tells me that she wasn't in vain and she does continue, and that our essentially our body is just a physical form, right? And
Mhm.
we're living a human experience. Our spirit is just living a human experience
Yes.
in our body,
Yes.
essentially.
Hmm. Hmm.
So then she goes, yeah, see the medium. So what she told me was actually it takes 3 months to connect to someone who's just gone recently. So she said, wait a little bit. I was so eager. So, I mean, I called in February. So it was almost 3 months, but not
Yeah.
really,
Uh-huh.
So I called immediately. And this guy, he's very eccentric. So he doesn't have a phone, as in like what we do. He doesn't use social media. He's only got a landline. So when you're calling him, you're calling the landline number, an 020 number that no one really calls unless you're calling big companies and stuff. And you're supposed to leave a voicemail. So you don't even speak to him. You just say, "Hi, my name is Helena, and I would like to have a reading." That is it. You don't give any other information about yourself, right? You don't even give last names because people could argue that
He's
before,
looking things up. Yes.
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
right? And with me, I didn't post anything about my pregnancy because the whole concept for me was like, it's going to be surprise, I've got
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
baby kind of thing, right? So when I sat down with him and we did it through Skype, and he started just saying things that there's no way that you could have guessed that, right? And it started very specifically with, at first he spoke about my grandma, who I never met, my mum's mum,
Hmm.
whose name started with a S, is what he said, and who has 5 children. And me, I was like, she's got 6 children, actually. And then later I found out by my mum, no, it's actually 5. So the man was right. So my grandma is the person that came to him and started telling him about my daughter. And he just got so many details right. So he said, for example, the first thing he spoke about was the 12th of November. On the 12th of November, you had a very significant argument with your family, and this argument was about a key. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So I had a family party, and in this family party, we not lost, but we left our house keys. Remember, I said in the last episode that I was living at my parents' whilst
Yes.
I was pregnant,
Yeah.
and we went to a family party and we left the house keys
Oh.
at home. And the whole point was like we were ready to go home, but my parents didn't want to go home. So we asked my parents, could I have the keys to go home? And then there was a whole argument. Well, you guys are so irresponsible. Why don't you have your keys? And this argument really blew up. Like it was a ridiculous argument over keys. And then he said, this is when stressful things started to happen. And for him to know
Huh.
the date, I had to go on my phone and see, yeah, we took pictures at the party. Yes, it was the 12th of November. Obviously, I didn't tell him at that moment of the reading, but I wrote it down and I noted it. And later I looked and I was like, oh my God, this man was correct. Okay. Then it took him a long time to speak about Mila, but he said when he eventually discovered that it was a baby girl, he said it was hard to read because she's a little baby. There was no
There's.
real language there. So it was my grandma who was doing the speaking for her essentially. And so he was like, you had really high blood pressure and that affected her lungs and she was no longer breathing. She was 8 months. She was 2 days away from being 9 months. She passed away on the 29th of December. Her name starts with an M. Her dad is the one who chose her name. And just such tiny details about her that there is no way that he could have got that anywhere else. But I think the thing that really struck me was when he started speaking about my sister. Now, I don't have a sister, right?
Hmm.
So I'm the oldest. I'm
Hmm.
firstborn from my parents, and I've got a little brother. He's 11 years difference from me. And this guy was like, "Oh, I can tell you have a sister, but you have a very strained relation. You don't have a very close relationship with your
Hmm.
sister."
Hmm.
And then I was like to him, I don't know. I was just in my head, I was like, no. He's like, yes, you have a sister, but the reason why your relationship with your sister is so strained is because your mum miscarried and your sister is 21. And when he said that, everything clicked. Because I remember when I was 7 years old, my mum had a miscarriage, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the conversation she had with my auntie that day because she even described how the baby looked. I don't I don't think I'll go into detail because it was very like I don't think she understood that I would understand,
Yes.
but
Yes.
she just described it. And you know, and I was 7, and by the time I did this reading with him, I was 28. So for him to even get the date, the age right,
Right.
for me, I was like, yeah, there's no way that we aren't spirits in this world. And for the fact that even when it's like a baby who is like 6 weeks, that's still,
Hmm.
you know, somebody with a spirit is surreal to me. So then I was like, okay, this this is different. this has given me the reassurance and the strength to go on and take my daughter with me that I needed, because she isn't just something that, she isn't just a something, or, there's more
Yes.
to her.
Yeah.
And so I started going crazy with my research. Oh my gosh, Winter, I went
Mm.
into this whole new world. And I guess it started with me being like, okay, if the medium can do that, why couldn't I connect with my daughter myself? Like, why do I need a medium,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And what mediums tend to say is that we all can do this, right? And it's all about like listening to our intuition and just like being, yeah, just being with ourselves in silence and really just listening to that gut feeling that we all have. Because we all have those moments
Yeah.
where like things happen and it doesn't really, it feels like a
Doesn't.
coincidence, but it's
Yep.
not really a coincidence,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
happens to everyone. So, so yeah, I ended up reading this book by a lady called Fleur Lusink. I hope
Hmm.
I'm saying her name right. She's from Finland, I think. But she grew up in America, or she was born in America, but her family is like
Gotcha.
European,
Hmm.
right? And so the book is called Moving Beyond. And the whole idea behind this book is how to get in touch with your intuition and your psychic abilities to, whether you want to connect with a loved one or anything like that. And so she goes, and the language that she uses in this book is just so conversational, and
Mm.
anyone can read it. And it's just so welcoming for anyone who wants to just, if they had profound loss. I don't think it's just any loss that you would do it, right? It's
Yes.
profound loss. And to lose a child inside of you, like, come on, that's a whole
Yeah.
different level of relationship. And then you don't even have a relationship on the outside world. So you're
Yeah.
always going to be craving that. Because I feel like, when we lose someone who we have memories with, maybe we don't really need to do all of that. Like, we can go and see a medium because it gives us that, hope that our person still continues, but you don't have any memories with your child, and
Yeah.
this is all you can hold on to. So in the book, she's got like different meditation types. She talks about, it's basically do it yourself, and you do like a checklist of like meditations that you want to do. Some are very simple. Go to a park, sit down, meditate, think of your person, imagine your person there with you.
Mm.
What would you say to them? What would they say to you? And then there's another one called the Osho meditation, which is what I did at the start of my grief, because this meditation, you have to be like you have to do a lot of movement. You're screaming, you're crying.
Mm.
So you do 15-minute segments of like five different things.
Yeah.
So the first is like heavy breathing, heavy, heavy, heavy breathing. Then it's like dancing, hectic dancing around the house, whatever it is, right? Then screaming or crying. Then just like flailing with your hands up in the
Yeah.
air or whatever. And then the last one is total stillness. And the first time I did that meditation, I felt such like a vibration around me. And I just got
Mm.
inspiration. I was inspired to do stuff like, okay, my inspiration was let me go to the theater, to the local theater. I don't know why I decided to do this. And the reason why I'm telling you is because something happens, right? So, remember this book that I read called Moving Beyond, and this book, you know how in books there's always people who review it,
Yes.
and it's usually somebody who, knows the field really well.
Yeah.
So there was a man called Tony Stockwell. He's a British medium. I didn't really know much about him except reading that bit
Yeah.
in the book. And he says, she's an amazing medium, very well established. She's actually a Hollywood medium, so she does a lot of
Oh,
like famous people. And yeah, so I remember reading that. And then I was like, do you know what? Let me go to the theatre, my local theatre. At the time, I was living in this place in London that isn't really like, it, no one really goes there,
okay.
right? It's like a dingy place. Like, you're
Okay.
not really going to come here. Yeah, so I go there, and the whole point that I was going was because I wanted to see if they had a room for me to do this meditation. And the reason why was
Mm.
because I couldn't stand being in that room, because that was the room that I had my contractions with my daughter, and it just didn't feel right for me being there. Like, I even remember the spot where my waters broke.
Yeah.
So I was like, ugh, I want to do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I went to the theater and I said, "Do you guys have a space?" And then they like spoke to me about the spaces, and then I got a program. Got the program and I left. And I'm just in the street reading the program, and then I see it. Tony Stockwell. coming to this theater in a few months' time. I'm like, Tony Stockwell, like, why do I know that name?
Yeah.
Then, of course, I have my book with me because I'm still reading this book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how
Yeah.
surreal is that? How
Love it.
surreal. That's too much of a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Why did I even go to the theater in the first place? I
Exactly.
didn't have to really go to the theater. And so, yeah, I was just like, this is sensational.
Yeah.
So obviously I booked to go see him.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful experience seeing. I didn't get a reading,
Yeah.
but it was just really nice to see. It was packed, by the way.
I'm
Like,
sure.
how many people were probably there? Like 60 plus, like maybe 100 could sit that theater. It was packed. Oh, sorry. It was packed, and everyone was getting a reading, and it was just too specific for it to be
Mm.
imagined stuff, right? And then that's where my journey started. And, I've always been very intrigued by the afterlife,
Yeah.
very intrigued.
Yeah.
And I think the first time it happened was when I studied Egyptology at
Oh,
university.
yes. Yes. Yep.
And oh my goodness, the Egyptians, right? And actually, the reason why was because that summer before applying to university, a friend of mine, I went to a friend's house and her mum had so many books on ancient Egypt. And I was just reading them and I was like, oh my God, this is so interesting. Like, what? There's a whole world here. And then I went to study it at university and I read the Book of the Dead. I had to learn how to read hieroglyphs, by the way. But if you ask me to read it now, please don't ask me because I don't remember
That is
it.
so cool
Oh
that you,
my
yeah, that's so cool that you did though.
God. Yeah, it was great. For a time in my life, I knew how to read it for 3 years. It was really beautiful. And the way they honor their loved ones who have
Yes.
passed away is something that I wish we still had. I feel like there's such a shame in our society to speak about our loved ones who have gone, and especially when they're children, especially when they're babies. There's always like there's a rush. We just live in this whole rushed society right
We
now, isn't
do.
it?
We
Especially in the
do.
West. It's like, always moving, the rat race, isn't
Yep.
it? So yeah, when I was studying that, there was this king in ancient Egypt, and his name was Akhenaten.
Hmm.
And when he came to the throne, he wanted to start his new way, new world, right? New world of seeing things. And one of these things was to get rid of all the different gods that the Egyptians
Yeah.
believed in at the time.
Yeah.
And he just wanted it to be one god. And essentially, he was that god, right? And it was
Mm-hmm.
like the trilogy. So it was him, his wife, and his son. And it was almost a power play, really, so that people just,
Yes.
worshipped him. But one of the things that he did was he erased a lot of the other kings, right? So he erased their names from monuments. He got rid of some of, these big statues and stuff that were in honor of these kings. And what that means is that you're erasing this person from history, you're erasing
For,
this person from the afterlife.
yeah.
So what Egyptians believed, if you're not writing or speaking about your loved ones, they cease to exist, essentially.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest form of disrespect. That
Yeah.
is the biggest diss you can ever
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
someone, right?
Yeah.
And then it takes me to also, have you seen the movie Coco?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, right. And that movie also touches on that. If you don't have a picture of
Yep.
your loved one, they're in the altar, they're going to be forgotten.
Yeah.
And I start to think about that for my daughter. Imagine just like forgetting her,
Hmm.
erasing her. I didn't go through all of that for me to just, erase her. So for me, I'm very particular in bringing her with me, and this is how I've learned to bring her with me. Every time I can get something from a different culture, I do, because we can learn so much from each other. And there's also so many things that interlink between our different cultures,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, so like for example in Mexico they've got the Day of the Dead, and the day before that is the Little Angels, or Los Angelitos, which is the 1st of November. I'm Angolan, and we also have the Day of the Dead, which is the 2nd
Really?
of November.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so there's still I mean, we don't do it so much because after colonization there is a lot of things that were sort of wiped out
Hmm.
in terms
Yep.
of like that's kind of considered not the thing to do.
Yeah.
Um, but I just find it so interesting, and so it's such a to nurture and look after your loved one by having altar for them, by, yeah, that, for example, in ancient, well, Mexicans still do that very much, and they proudly celebrate, it's a whole day. It's like a carnival or something for them, right?
Yeah.
The whole country is there to celebrate their loved ones.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was like for us in Angola. I really don't, because
Hmm.
there's no like written literature that really goes into detail around that. A lot of that has been lost. So I take a lot of inspiration from like different cultures and how they honor. And honestly, like you can bring your own way, right? Your own tradition to it, because at the end of the day, it's your relationship with your
Yes.
loved one. But it's great to just acknowledge the things that you can take from different countries. Have you seen Sinners?
I I haven't seen Sinners.
Okay,
You
so
can do a
there's a
spoiler
great
alert.
scene. I will do a spoiler alert if no one's seen it yet. But there is a great scene around this.
Mm,
So basically, I think Sinners is set in the 1940s, I think. And basically Stack and Smoke, they're twin brothers, and they used to live in Mississippi. Then they moved to like, I don't know if it's New York, but they move up to like the big cities, right,
okay,
to
yeah.
make money where they are free essentially. And then they come back to where they're from. Now, Smoke is with this woman called Annie. They have a relationship and they also have a child,
Hmm.
right? However, their baby, I am assuming, was stillborn. All we know is that they lost their baby, right?
Okay.
And this movie does it so beautifully, Winter. Like, he comes back to where they're from. And the first thing we see when he arrives to his home is he kneels down on the floor, and then he says, Papa is here. And as he says that, we see a stone with a handprint, with a baby handprint. We see a bottle of milk and we see some flowers there. And you can tell that this is basically
Oh,
baby space, right? And that bottle of milk, you can tell that mum probably always fills that up. It's fresh bottle of milk, right? Because obviously, if you're leaving it, it'll
no.
curdle and
Yes,
stuff like
yes,
that, you know? So that is her nurturing and looking after her baby. And
yes.
I just thought, oh, what a beautiful nod to how we continue to love our children. Like,
Yep.
even this, what we're doing right now, that is what this is, right? We're
Yes,
nurturing them. And
exactly.
so this movie just honors baby loss in a way that I've never seen done before. And obviously, the movie's, well, not obviously, but the movie's about vampires.
Hmm.
And there's this scene where Annie goes, she's very spiritual as well. She actually practices hoodoo, and she really believes in spirit, like we
Yes.
continue on in spirit. So, because if you get bitten by a vampire, you become dead, but you don't die, like you're stuck in this
In
life
this,
forever.
yes, yeah.
So one thing she says to Smoke, she says, "If I get bit by a vampire, you must kill me. You must kill me because I have someone waiting for me on
Oh,
the other side."
oh,
The way I cried at this, I have someone waiting for me
oh,
on the other side. And then they show us again that scene of like the milk, the handprint, and the flowers. Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps. Oh,
that
yes.
is
So
wow, wow.
yeah, she's like, you promised me. You
Yeah.
promised me. So he goes ahead, and obviously he has to do that when she's finally bitten. And the same thing happens at the end of the movie when he's also dying. And then we see there's a beautiful scene of her all dressed in white. He's like transitioning, and she's breastfeeding
Oh
the
my gosh.
baby.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious? I need to watch this movie now.
Oh my God, I'm actually,
Oh, yeah, that
she's
is powerful.
breastfeeding. And she's got like a crown of a baby's breath,
Oh,
flowers across her head. Oh, and then she's just like to him, put down, he's smoking, and she's like, get rid of your smoke. You want to hold her, don't you? You know? And it's just, oh, it's that. And I
oh,
really, honestly, truly believe with all my heart that that is how our babies continue on. Like they do become spirit, and they do offer us signs in little things, and we know what our signs are. It's not
yes.
a case of just being like, that feather over there definitely is my child. No, you know when it is.
Yep.
You definitely know. It's not, yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what's helped me so much looking into these things. I read a book called Life Beyond the Veil. If
Mm.
I was in my house, I'd show you. It's so thick. It's like I didn't read it. I did not read it. I got this book because there's one page and it says stillborn children, right?
Yes.
I got it for that specific reason because I remember being in, after I'd left the hospital, I was diligently searching for
For
like, is
anything.
there anything? Yeah, I was like, is there anything about stillbirth and spirit? Like, I need to see. And then there was this book, and it had one page
One
about this,
page.
so I got it. I got the book, and what it says is the following. Amongst many other things, it says, for the parents who continue to do little things, whatever it is. It could be like if you're just journaling, it could be if you're baking, it could be podcasts, it could be running, anything in memory of your baby. There is, it means that your baby will remember and recognize you when you pass too.
Oh, yeah.
So, because they can see you nurturing them, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that really just again was a further push for me to just be like, yeah, she's seeing this.
Yes.
I'm nurturing her from afar.
Yeah. I was going to say, and this, what you just told me was we as lost parents want to, we have a nature to nurture, right? We want to parent our child. They're not here to do that. So we have to find ways to do that. And that looks like a lot of different things. Parenting our child after loss is really hard. It's something that, but it's really important to us to be able to feel like we have a connection, that we are taking care of our baby in some way, right? In some way. So,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to share with you that because I'm Chinese by that's my background, and we in the Chinese culture, ancestors are very much a part of our like who we are. So I my both my parents have passed away, and so we go to their grave and we pay respects and we bring food to them, and I mean, like, and when you said the baby bottle from Sinners, I was like, yeah, like we would bring oranges, like that's a very lucky thing to do. And
Mm.
we talk to them and tell them exactly what's been happening in our family, and so they just get an update. I know that they're probably watching over us, and I believe that. But it's nice to be able to have that time to be with them and to talk to them. So yeah, I love that. Now I do want to ask you, Helena, you what are some ways that you have done to bring Maila, like what have you done in honor of her that you feel like has been really helpful to you to talk about her to help others in this space?
Yeah. I think one of the first things was deciding that I wanted to write a book
Yeah.
that acknowledged her existence
Yes.
and acknowledged also the fact that she isn't here, but allows her to live in the pages of these books. That was the first step, really. And why I'm so grateful that I was able to transfer my love for her in that way is because I've been a writer for a long
Yes.
time, and books was something that I wanted to share with her. And I remember, like, when I gave birth to my son, I did get him a personalized storybook. When I read that for the first time, I cried so much because I was like, I will never have this experience with my daughter. And then I thought, okay, if I can't have that with her, maybe I can do a book and still do that for her, right?
Yeah.
And I had contacted the company who did his book, and I said, "Do you guys do books for children who've passed away?" And they said, "No, but we've got another book that does this and the other." And I was like, "No, it has
It's
to be,
not,
it
yeah.
can't just be any old book,
Yeah.
right?" So I thought I decided to write something, and I wrote a poem called When I Was in Your Tummy. And I wanted it to be factual, and I didn't want it to be too much. I wanted it to be simple, repetitive, to the point, and factual. And I didn't want it to just have like positive platitudes of like, you know, you're in a better place and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I wanted it to be, when you were in my tummy, you were warm inside. That is true.
Yeah.
When you were in my tummy, you heard my words. That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
And then now that you're outside my tummy, you're still very close to me because obviously spiritually. And then there's that question of, I hope I'm saying this right, microcharism,
Hmm.
whereas the fact that, their cells stay with us, and even no matter how early on the loss is, the cells are still there
Yeah.
in our bodies for a long time. So, they're always close. And then I kind of mentioned a few signs that, we feel like we receive from them. So that was the first thing that I decided to do. And I wanted to extend that and share that with other parents because, it's great to obviously have a book that acknowledges baby loss, but to have a book that is in your baby's name, I
Specific.
just think, yeah, that's so special. And for you
Hmm.
to see that name, and maybe it's gifted to you by a loved one, and it shows that they are thinking about your baby, that your baby matters to them as well. That's what I wanted to do. And then with doing that, I started an Instagram and the TikTok,
Hmm.
and those things felt like I was able to connect with, I was able to build
Yeah.
that village, for myself, for other parents. We are now all connected because otherwise I wouldn't have gotten that. And then I guess the other things that started coming gradually was like I ran a marathon. Oh my gosh. I would have never to be fair, I just threw myself at it.
You did.
I really did. And I felt like, again, it was a sign because my husband came home. He did a shift. Sometimes he does removals, and
Hmm.
he did a removal in someone's house. And then the person gave him a shirt that was on, like, no one had worn it.
Hmm.
And this shirt said at the back, "Together for every baby." And I was like, that's really
Oh.
weird. What does that mean? So I looked at the front and it said Tommy's. And so I
Yes.
decided to Google it. I didn't even know who Tommy's was. That's, the only charity I knew was SANS, which is the stillbirth and
Yes.
neonatal death.
Hmm.
So I Googled Tommy's, and then it said, it's a pregnancy charity that looks at, like, supporting women in pregnancy, preventing loss, and supporting people through loss. And I was like, what? And then I checked, the shirt was specifically a marathon shirt. So I was like, let me just check the marathon dates. And it ended up being my birthday. It was the
Oh,
21st of April. It was going to be my 30th birthday. And I said, yeah, I have to
we're
sign.
we're doing it. Yep.
I have to sign up for this. And this is somebody who doesn't run, is an ex-asthmatic, hates running. And I had 6 months to train, whereas everyone had a whole year to
Yeah.
train, or
Yeah.
most people. But that was a beautiful experience. And seeing so many people running in memory of their loved ones, it's such a beautiful expression of love. You just see so many people like running for their dad, their sister, their grandma, like
Oh.
their babies. That energy is beautiful. And I wrote Mila's mum. I didn't write my name. And hearing people like, go on, Mila's mum.
Oh,
Ah, oh my
yes. When people can
God.
say their name, it's like the best thing ever. And
Yes.
shouting, like cheering you
I
on.
was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's
People are
me.
saying her name. Ah, yeah, it was the best thing. It was honestly the best. And yeah, I mean, just it's been basically these things where,
Yeah.
and I have a little altar at home as well. I connect with her, I speak with her, and in doing all of this stuff, I've also helped my family be present with me in my grief. So, like my mom and my
Oh.
dad, initially, especially my dad, was very apprehensive, and it was very much like, okay, we need to move on from this,
Hmm.
let it go. Da, 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 da. And now he speaks fondly of his granddaughter.
Hmm.
He supports everything that I do. Last Christmas he made a toast for her, and he was
Oh.
talking about her to his friend. Did you tell him about Maila? And I was like, okay, Dad, this is the energy I want. And my
Yeah.
mom, my mom is so amazing. Like, she really took care of me so incredibly throughout after my loss. But she comes to my house and she goes to Maida's ashes. She greets all of us and she greets her as well. And
Oh.
she goes to her picture and she says, "Hi, Maila, how are you, my beautiful granddaughter?"
Oh.
You know, those things,
It makes such a huge difference. Oh, I
it
love
really
it.
does. It really does. Yeah, it goes a long way. It really goes a long way.
I love how they showed up. Like when you're like willing to talk about it and acknowledge like this is where I'm at and I the
Mm,
fact that they're there. That is so beautiful.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I cannot take that for granted at all.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how you and your husband Robert have grieved. How
Yeah.
how's that looked for the two of you?
Yeah. So my husband initially he was, I have to be strong for
Yes.
you, for her,
Yes.
for everyone, and didn't want, he broke down very intensely when I told him. He broke down more than me because I was in a state of numbness and
Yeah.
shock, and he was just like, all for it, like he fell on all fours. But then within seconds, not seconds, like within days, I feel, and it's probably more the influence of the people around us,
Yes.
right? Because people are, you have to be strong, that kind of narrative.
Right.
And so immediately he has to put on this armor of being tough, of being like, I'm okay, I've got this. I've given her to God now, was one of the things that he kept saying. And then he wasn't allowing himself to really feel. And he did tell me like a lot of the times Christmas became really hard for him because he wasn't really speaking. His birthday obviously become
Is-
really hard for him.
yeah.
He couldn't sit and have a meal as a family because when we come to my parents' house, we all sit together and
Yes.
have a meal, and
Yeah.
that was really hard for him. He was telling me that he cries a lot, but he can't do it in front of me because he doesn't want to make me feel bad. So he will cry in like different rooms and stuff. And it was really hard for him to speak about it. And actually, her second birthday that we had, we decided to do a spa day. And that's what we decided we're going to do every one of her birthdays. We're going to book a spa hotel and we're going to stay there and just be taken care
Wonderful.
of.
Yes.
But this time around, we did the spa at home. So
Mm.
I made sure that each room was basically set for something. And it was a whole day experience where it's like,
How fun.
okay, at this time, we're going to be like getting the massage in the bedroom, doing the head, doing the back. You know, every one of us, each of us is going to have like, 45 minutes of that. Then you're going to have your like your shower, not shower, your bath, like bubble bath. Then in the in the living room, it's going to be the foot place, and then in the corridor is going to be the place of like mindfulness, where there's going to be lights all over, and you're just going to be like laying there writing whatever. It was really fun, and we really felt so light after that.
Oh,
But that day, I mean, we drank some wine and we smoked a little bit and stuff, and that was, you know he started speaking about things that we hadn't really spoken about,
oh,
and watching it, hearing it from his perspective, like I was just crying, he was crying, and it was just like he was explaining things from his side, and feeling helpless as well because he was like, okay, I've just lost my child, now am I going to lose my partner as well?
yeah.
The sad thing is he hasn't done any like therapy or any counseling.
Hmm.
He doesn't want to do that, and I feel like I wish he did, and I wish we were offered like couples counseling just so that we could support each other. But he was there through and through. Like he was helping me, like even going to the toilet. I mean, obviously that's
Yes.
his. You should be doing that, to
Yeah.
be very honest.
Yeah.
Duh. But going to the toilet was really hard, so he helped me with that. I had to get injections for the next 3 months, and he was
Oh,
doing those for me because I
yeah.
couldn't even touch my belly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were really there for each other, but we definitely grieved very differently,
Yeah.
I
And
guess. Yeah.
that's one thing that I've noticed is that everybody's grief looks way different, and
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay. And
Absolutely.
it's hard to I think I was a little judgmental of my husband. I was like, "Why aren't you more crying? Like, why are you not crying way
Yeah.
more?" And you're right. Like he was, but not in front of me because of he wanted to be the strong one for me.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I had a phone call from my auntie, and then she was like, "How are you guys doing?" And I was like, "I'm terrible." But Robert is fine. And then he just gave me the dirtiest look. He's like, "No, I'm not fine. I'm just." I was like, "Oh, sorry." Wrong.
Like, yep, we're all doing it differently.
I was like, "Yeah, he's fine." Like,
Yeah.
you know. Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot of things and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I learned some things.
Yeah. Literally that.
Helena, I know that you've had your son since your loss. So tell me a little bit about how when you were making decision to maybe get pregnant again, how was being pregnant after loss, and then also even parenting after loss now.
Yeah.
How have you navigated that?
Yeah. So initially, I was very much like, I'm not having any children ever again. I
Yeah,
don't understand how women put themselves through this. This is torture. I don't understand. I mean, there's people who've had multiple losses and they keep, trying for
right.
their baby, living baby. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that. But then as the months were going, by February, that longing feeling of wanting to hold and hug and have my baby, I was like, it was almost like out of spite and just rage. I was like, no, I need to have a child just to say that I can have a child. Like I was just very
Yeah,
angry.
yeah,
And so I didn't even wait enough for like the transition for my body to heal and
right.
my mental health and emotional health to heal. And I was like, no, we need to have a baby right now. So we tried and we got pregnant again really easily. And again, that I say that because I know that that's a privilege as well, because
Yeah.
it can take a long time too. And oh, I thought I'd be fine. I don't know what thought, honestly, whatever. I was just like, yeah, I'll be fine. And I remember going to now I had a consultant, right?
Yes.
A specialized person who was following me, and he was saying to me, you might start feeling, you will get a little bit anxious. So here's this and here's that about like what to do. No, he said you might want to have a C-section, a planned C-section, because you might get a little bit anxious and you might want to have your baby early. And I was like, why is he putting those thoughts in my head? Like, I'm not going to be anxious. Okay, then, well. So,
Well,
you know, initially I thought, okay, will I be pregnant? Okay, I'm pregnant now. Will anything happen? But then because I'd never experienced an early loss, that didn't feel real to me.
mhm,
So it was like, no, I don't think that will happen. But as soon as it started to get closer to the 30, I was going crazy,
yes,
ballistic. Like I would pretty much cry almost every day. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, she's moving too much. What is this? Let's go in. Oh my gosh, she's not moving at all. What is this? Let's go in. It was pretty much like that, like constantly just on edge. I would call my bereavement midwife. I would just call the helpline all the time. I was not doing well.
yeah,
Pregnancy after loss was, I couldn't wait for it to be over. I wasn't
yes,
enjoying it. Didn't do a baby shower this time. Didn't do a gender reveal. As soon as they, as soon as I could find out, I said, just tell me, please.
yes, yeah,
And then I cried because I found out he was a boy and not a girl. And it was mostly just that feeling of like, oh, I was going to have a girl. Now I'm not going to have a girl. And,
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
yeah.
And then, yeah, like then my blood pressure, I was measuring my
Oh,
blood pressure
all the
a
time.
lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then it started to spike a little bit, and I was like, no, this is not good. So, we ended up having to have him at 37 weeks because my blood pressure
Was
started doing it. Yeah, it started going high again. But I was having aspirin throughout that pregnancy,
you were?
to make sure that I wouldn't develop preeclampsia. And yeah, I ended up having him. Oh, also he was measuring very big. So they're telling me this, oh, he's measuring very big. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? He's 36 weeks and apparently he was measuring 40. I was like, what does that mean? Right. So we had him early. He was definitely very big.
Hmm.
I had to have a C-section, which I didn't want.
Yeah,
Um, but I was induced and the induction was intense. Like when I had Mila, that those contractions and that labor wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was blissful. It was a beautiful delivery too. Like I gave birth to her vaginally just like how I
Hmm.
wanted. And I wanted to do the same with my son because I was like, I can do this.
Hmm.
But the induction, oh my goodness. As
Was
soon
it?
as they put the pessary,
Yeah,
they put it at 4 p.m. By no, sorry, they put it at 2 p.m. By 4 p.m. It was like, all
full.
right, I'm in contraction mode. Let's have this baby,
Yeah.
right? And actually, I'd asked the midwife who I had for Mila, because she really took care of me,
Mhm.
to be there when I had him. And that was literally her last day before the holidays.
Uh-huh.
So I was able to have the
Yes.
same person there, and that felt so good.
Yes.
But yeah, those contractions were instant, and I tried to hold out so I could have a vaginal birth, but By 8 p.m., I was doing all sorts of like movements, and then they checked how dilated I was. I was only 4 centimeters. I
Oh,
was like,
I'm not gonna
no,
last.
no. And then the doctor came in and she was like, listen, there's no prizes to be won. Um, you're in a lot of pain, and also like I don't want the same thing to happen. She started saying I don't want the same thing to happen and blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, let's just do this. So immediately another doctor comes in and he's like, oh, you're gonna have to sign this to say that you want your C-section. I was like, just give me the C-section now. Just give it. I was literally like, give it to me. And he's like, no, you need to listen to what we're saying so you understand. And I was like, ah. So he ended up coming with for his C-section. But yeah, parenting after loss is also a whirlwind in
Yes.
itself. Every time I'm thinking he's going to also die, like, and I guess this is probably something
Oh,
that we're going to feel forever because, you know,
you're just,
yeah,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
So is he breathing enough? Is he not breathing enough when he's sleeping? In the car seat, he looked so squashed, and I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen to
Yeah,
him?
yeah.
Yes. So whenever he was in the crib, I would have to leg it just to make sure that he was fine and all that kind of stuff, because I was so weary that something was going to happen.
Yes.
I do think that that's changed now. Now he's a year and a half and
hmm
things on I'm not that intense with it. What now is the thing that gets me is just the fact that, all these wonderful, beautiful milestones, which are many of them, the
Yes.
first crawl, the
Yes.
first roll over, the first babble, the first tooth, the first sit up, the first walk, the first word.
Oh,
Um, all those things I just imagine what would she be like
yeah.
and what would she be like now? Because now she would have been
Yeah.
2.5 and stuff
hmm
like that. So it's just really tough.
Yes. That's a great way of putting it because there's so much longing in it too because you're like I want to see what she's going to look like.
Yeah,
By now like her personality is probably shining would be shining through. It's you're like what would she have been like? And yeah, I think about that too for my son. I was like I wonder if he would have
yeah,
been like calm like my daughter or kind of crazy like my son or
yeah,
it's just interesting how you just there's some longing there that you
yeah,
just
absolutely, absolutely.
Helena, one of the things I do like to ask is what were some things that people did for you or said to you that was especially comforting or helpful? You've already highlighted a number of people that have really been influential, but is there anything that you want to call out and say thanks to these people that really kind of stepped up for you and took
Yeah.
care of you?
So I want to say thanks to my husband. He just went straight into action and he,
Yeah,
I feel like it was probably autopilot, but he did what he needed to do for us. He was amazing at everything. My mom as well, she was brilliant. I'm so grateful for how she bathed me. She did so many things
oh,
where I basically became a baby in that moment,
yeah,
and she looked after her baby amazingly. I do want to thank my dad for how he has grown with his
mm.
grief. So I appreciate that. I thank my friend Trina who bought me a journal. This is before I knew that people buy things for people to remember their people. So she got me a journal.
yeah,
She got me a journal to write about Maila and how I was feeling. And I know that she's known grief a lot as well because of her grandparents.
hmm
So I feel like she had that sensitivity in how to offer that comfort for me. And I got that journal that same week actually. And I remember the first entry was on the 1st of January 2022 or one of those days.
right,
And then no, not the first because I was still in hospital. So I think it was actually the fourth, the same day that we went to see her, my husband's
okay,
birthday.
yeah.
Then my friend Sev, who got me lentil soup and asked to see my daughter's picture. This was
Oh,
the first person who asked that, and I was like, "What? Someone wants to see her? This is exciting. This
yeah.
is exciting because I want to share her. I want to show her." So I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for that mum who told me to go back to the hospital.
Oh
She
my
was from
gosh.
America. I don't even remember her name. I spoke to her that one time and that's it. And my cousin Angela as well.
Mm.
She's just always been there for me. She's there for me still now. And all of these people who I mentioned are still there for me. My friend Marae, my cousin Alicia, who took that first picture.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, can't forget her. My cousin Jasira, who has the same birthday as Maila, and she has this massive tattoo of Maila on her leg,
That
or
is,
massive tattoo that says Maila.
oh,
And I feel like I'm naming everyone. And then I have another cousin who named her, got her name on his arm. He's in Angola. And I've never met him in real life,
yeah.
you know. Uh, and an
Wow.
auntie from Angola who cried with me on the phone, and I've never met her physically.
Yeah.
Those people, I hold them near and dear, and I'm grateful for everything they did for me.
Yeah. It sounds like they just showed up.
Yeah,
They wept with you. They wanted to,
yeah,
celebrate with you also. I mean, I love that when you said your friend showed up with lentil soup and asked for to see pictures. Like that is
yeah,
just perfect. Like that is so simple and that means so much to a lot of us lost parents to
yeah.
a little food, which is a practical thing, and then just the emotional being able to show pictures. Like that's cool. Like good job, your friend.
Yeah. I'm so like, yeah, she's amazing. She's
Right.
amazing.
And on the flip side, are there things that people have said to you or maybe did to you or didn't do that would have been better if they were a little bit more sensitive about child loss?
Yes. I mean, I've got loads,
Yeah.
but I have some family in Portugal who I really considered them to be my tight family,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Obviously, they can't be here, but just like my auntie in Angola, who I'd never seen, who called me and cried video call, there's an auntie who I considered a sister. We grew up together. She
Hmm.
calls my mum because my mum looked after her, and she didn't call me. She didn't contact
Oh,
me. And that was really difficult for me to take in. And I remember being there in the hospital and I'm supposed to be grieving my daughter, but meanwhile, I'm here thinking, is that person not going to contact me? And I remember, it was the 31st of December now, and she sends a funny meme in the family group chat. And my dad calls her out and he says, your niece is here in the hospital and you haven't contacted her at all. And she's always that family member who's always busy, right? And to be honest, I've also been that person. I'm always the busy person. Da, 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 da. But when something like this happens, that it stops someone's whole world and essentially your whole world too, because you were expecting to meet this child who would have been a part of your
yeah.
family. But you have to take pause and be present. And then she just ended up, texting me, saying, time will heal and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And she messaged my mom being like, "Oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do." And actually, the reason why I created this book was actually out of that as well. It was because I want to bridge that gap where family think they don't know what to do or what to
Yes.
say. Like, what about a gift that, acknowledges baby and shows that you are thinking about them, you
Yeah.
know? And then I had another auntie who was like, just very dismissive about it. Oh, you're young, you'll have other children. Oh, I know someone who's also lost her baby and now she's fine. She's got, two children and stuff like that. And it's like, you're being so dismissive of this
Yeah.
experience that I had, like of my child who is here. And who cares if I can have more children? And you don't even know that for a fact,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the point isn't that. The point is this baby who is still here, actually, whilst you're telling me this. And at the time, I didn't have the words of how do you respond to something like that, but I knew it wasn't right. I knew it didn't feel good. The midwives as well were like, one of them was like, you're only young.
Yeah.
Soon you're going to have a house full of children. Like, why are you doing that? Like, surely you should be trained enough. And actually, instead of saying things like this was the moment for them to plant that seed in my head for me to think about spending that bonding time for those 5 days that I will have with my daughter, but I chose not to because I didn't know what to expect. This is the moment for you to say
It,
beautiful things for my daughter,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Say how much she's got so much hair, she's so beautiful, she looks
Yes.
just like daddy. Those kind of warm things for me to think, oh, maybe I do want to see her,
Yeah.
that curiosity, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
midwives, I think the nursing staff and the doctors can play such a huge role in like
yeah,
having it be have a little bit better situation or experience than some people do.
Yeah.
Because yeah, they
Absolutely.
make a
They
huge
make all the
difference. They
difference.
do.
They're the beginning, right? They're literally the beginning
Yes.
of our grief journey. They mark, like, and the thing is, right, we're already going to have to work a lot on how we're going to survive this. But then the negative things that people say, you're also is another layer of things that you're going to have to work on.
Yeah.
Because even things where people say, oh, you weren't ready or it wasn't meant to
Oh,
be,
oh,
then in your head, you're like, oh, maybe it was my fault.
yes, yes.
And maybe I didn't love
Oh,
them enough,
yeah,
And it's like, you don't want that in your head,
yes.
but that's what people are offering us.
Gosh, I've never thought of that before as being another layer you have to work through, and it's true because those things
Mm.
can be they can sit there and fester and yes, and cause other harmful thoughts. I don't, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, absolutely,
it's not good.
absolutely.
Helena, I
Mm.
know you've talked about this just a little bit, alluded to it. So you did start you did start something for Mila. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because it is, I think it's very specific. It's a cool way to, like you said, when you don't feel like you have anything to say, you
Mm.
could show up with something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So tell me about Mila's present.
Yeah, so I created Mila's present. Initially, it would have been Mila's gift. And I remember the idea, I really settled on the idea on her birthday, her first birthday, I invited the friends that were present throughout my loss.
Hmm.
And I said to them, guys, I have an idea and I want to write books, um, personalized storybooks that honor babies gone too soon, acknowledge the fact that they've gone, but allow them to live on in the books. And they were like, yes, go ahead and do it. And then one of my friends was like to me, write the book that you would have wanted to read in that moment. And I'm grateful that he said that because then
Mm,
it puts me back into where I was in that moment and what would I have wanted to read. And actually every book that I plan on writing, because I plan to have like loads of different books that look at different relationships, at different kinds of loss. I want to think about where you are in that specific moment, not the now, where now, it's been a few years
hmm,
and
hmm.
my circumstances are a little bit different. I've got a living child now, and that your grief is still there, but there's obviously different layers to it. So I'm glad that he said that to me. And also, there are books out there that kind of look at animals, for example, as a way to like look at grief. And for me, I didn't want that. I
Hmm.
wanted it to be very real, like specific. It is my child isn't, she isn't a bear.
Yeah.
She is a human
She's
being.
yeah.
So it then turned into Mila's present instead of Mila's gift because A, this is a present that I want to offer other parents, and B, she is present.
Presents.
She's
Yes.
always
Love that.
present.
Yes.
So that's where the idea came from. And again, it was like, okay, my auntie didn't know what to say, but if she knew that this existed, here is something that she could have given me, because there are no right words. And I think that's what people struggle with, accepting the fact that there isn't the right language. There's no fixing this. There are no silver linings,
Yeah.
but you can, you know, acts of service go a long way. And a gift, maybe a necklace that has their name,
Hmm.
maybe a journal like what I was gifted, or a book.
Yeah. There's certain I just think it's really nice to be able to have some different resources out there that people
Mm,
can rely on, especially when they're trying to find the right words, but there's no right words. They just we your presence a lot has to do just showing up and being there and
exactly.
like people checking in on you. That makes a huge difference. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
oh,
Yeah.
so good. Helena, this has been such a great conversation. I've just so appreciated it. I learned a ton from you, and I am looking forward to seeing the more of your books that you publish. And I just think that is beautiful. Is there any last advice or anything you want to tell us about your little Mila that we may have missed that before we close up today?
Yeah. I really just wish I knew what color her eyes were. And that was the
Mm.
whole thing throughout. Because my dad and we have the same eye color. It's like
Uh-huh.
light brown.
Yes,
And I wondered whether she would have the same eye color as me. And that's just something that is always there. And I didn't know actually that you could have looked at their eyes.
I didn't realize that either because I didn't do
Yeah.
that myself. Yeah, I
I
kind
don't
of
know
wish
if I would have. Yeah. I wanted to know, but I don't know. in that moment would I have wanted to? So yeah, that's the only thing that's coming to mind.
Yeah.
Like, would she have had light brown eyes like her granddad and me?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Helena, thank you so much. Thank you for this
Thank
wonderful
you,
time
Winter.
together. It has been just delightful, despite the fact that it is a little bit of a sad topic. I'm so grateful for this time with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. Any moment that we get to speak about our children, it's exhilarating actually.
It is. It is. It's fun. It's fun to talk about our kids.
Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely. It is.